Hey, hope you're having a great day. I am back as promised to talk about my experience attending a personal growth conference last week. I don't know about you, but have you ever had that situation or that experience where you get all fired up and excited about your goals? Usually happens around the first of the year when you get really excited about setting goals and resolutions, and then you start to fizzle out. Yeah, that happens to me, both in work-related goals, but also in health and personal goals. And, as I was approaching this year and thinking about building my new business, I was doing really good on the business side, but I was feeling a little lackluster on the personal development side. So I had set this goal out to attend a Tony Robbins conference, the big one, the Unleash the Power Within, after watching that Netflix special, I'm Not Your Guru. Great one, by the way. But I had this idea that I needed to do it, and it ended up working out. And then I had an incredible opportunity to attend Jack Canfield's One Day to Greatness event last week, which was local to Portland. And it was incredible. And what I want to do today is that event really lit my heart on fire and just my goals on fire and got me really thinking about things that I know very well. There are methodologies that we all talk about, concepts we all talk about. But, just because we know they exist doesn't mean that we put them into action. And last week helped me start putting some things that I had been dragging my feet on into action. And I thought, maybe you might appreciate having your fire lit a little bit to help you get back on track for your goals. So I did a poll on Instagram and I asked, do you want me to share this information? And they said yes. So here I am, Facebook, doing a live, hoping to share with you some insight to help you light your dreams back on fire to take some action. So the event that I attended last week, this is what it is, Jack Canfield's One Day to Greatness. He is an incredible speaker. Just a plug for this. Later this week or next week, I'm actually going to shoot a separate video where I break down his presentation skills and the whole conference experience and talk about lessons that you can take away as a speaker and presenter or workshop curator so that you can create more impactful experiences. So that video is coming. But in the meantime, for today, what I wanted to do is share with you a few of the lessons that stood out to me. And my hope, again, is that someone somewhere is going to hear this when exactly they need to hear it to help them chase their dreams a little faster. So there's 5 specific things that I wrote down a lot of notes, but 5 notes that really stood out to me. And again, many of these are things that I'd heard before and you've probably heard before, but for some reason, the timing was perfect and they just struck a chord and attached a lot of, or stimulated a lot of meaning for me. So let me share this with you. The first one is this idea that we can change our own mood at any point in time. This idea of we shouldn't be waiting to be happy one day when I make more money or when I have a bigger house or when I finally have the right relationship, whatever that looks like for you. This idea of someday I'll be happy is totally bogus. So what Jack recommends doing is creating a happy list for yourself. And I love this. I wrote this down in big star and bold. And he said, write down 20 things that you can do every single day or 20 things that you can do in a moment's notice that bring you joy. So whether that's playing music or my favorite in our house, having a dance party, scrapbooking, I don't know, taking pictures, whatever hobby or thing lights your fire and makes you happy, write those down. And then he encourages you post it on the wall. And anytime you're feeling blue, go do one of the things that makes you happy. And in a moment, change your mood. I think that's what Rachel Hollis says. Same you, new mood. I don't know, it's a thing, but it's totally true. So number 1, create a happy list so that you can change your mood at a moment's notice, because there's nothing worse than being in a rut and in a funk and not being able to get yourself out of it. So if you know you can, you should. So there's lesson learned number 1. Lesson number 2, think ahead. Like really think ahead. Jack talks a lot about the power of visualization, which I have to be fully transparent with you. I was never a person to do the visualization activities. I am a big advocate of writing down your goals every single day, but I only did just that. I every day wrote down my 10 goals for my life, and it was good. I had clarity, but I didn't take the time to actually visualize where I wanted to be. And the reason why this stood out, here's what Jack said. It's a quote. I don't know if it's from him or someone else, but it really struck a chord with me. And he said, You don't want to get to the top of the ladder to realize you've climbed the wrong one. Oh, it's so good. You know, when he said that, it resonated so true for me because of the professional jump I've had in the last 6 months where I climbed the corporate ladder. I was in an executive seat. I had a really, really incredible job. And I had this realization that it was all well and great, but not what I wanted. And so I jumped off the ladder with no parachute. I mean, that's a weird analogy, but you get what I'm saying, right? I jumped and I'm totally climbing now my new ladder in being a business owner on my own, which is scary and hard. And I don't know where money is going to come from, but you know, it's leaning against the right wall, which is really, really important. So bringing that back to the tip around really think about your future, you need to visualize where you want to go. And the question you have to ask yourself is the ladder you're climbing, both in your work, but also in how you feel about life, your relationships, your vibrancy, your health? Are you making traction on the thing that actually matters to you? Or are you just going through the process? You don't know where you're going to end up, so don't risk it. Okay, lesson number 3, act as if you've already created it. Now, this is a good one. I've heard this from a lot of people in the personal development space. It's this idea around imagine the type of person or the type of life that you want to have, and then act as if. So if you were the CEO of your own company, how would you show up in business meetings? If you were the most healthy version of yourself, how would you approach breakfast every single day? How would you approach meal planning or working out? If you were an incredibly accomplished writer, how would you approach writing your blog content each week? You have to really think about for yourself, if you were the most wonderful version of yourself that you can visualize in your dreams, how would you show up in this moment right here, right now? And what's stopping you from actually acting as if? And you know, this one really struck a chord for me because I am totally guilty of doing the thing of I'm learning, I'm building, I'm growing, and when I get to that point, I'll act as if. And that, nope, no more. Now is the time to focus and to behave in the way that you want to be. If that makes sense, that was slightly circular, but you know what I'm saying, right? So if you have a dream, whether it's a professional dream or a health dream or relationship dream, start acting now as if you already have achieved the thing that's most important to you. Okay, let's do a little recap. Tip number 1, lesson number 1, you can change your mood at any time, create a happy list. Number 2, think ahead, really think ahead, visualize so that you don't get to climbing too high on the ladder to realize it's up against the wrong wall. Lesson number 3, act as if you've already created it. Lesson number 4, here we go. If you want a different outcome, you have to change your response. Okay, this one is central to Jack's book. Put it up here, The Success Principles. By the way, if you've never read this, go get it today on Amazon. I read this book about 10 years ago and I just loved it. But I did what I normally do with books is I read them, I get inspired for them by a few months, then a shiny new book comes along, so I place it on my shelf, I forget about it, and I move on to the next thing. Don't do that. So this book, amazing. I'm excited it circled back into my life. But central concept that Jack talks about, if you want a different outcome, you have to change your response. And there's an equation that Jack uses. Let me pull it up here. That's central to everything he talks about. And the equation is E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. So what does that mean for you? It's this idea that things are going to happen in life. There's going to be accidents on the freeway. Your computer's going to crash. Someone's going to yell at you in line at the grocery store. I don't know. Things happen in life. And the reality is you can't change the event, but what you can change is your response to it. And when I think back of some of the most stressful and annoying moments in my life, it wasn't really about the thing that happened. Sure, the thing usually is sucky or gross or annoying. But really, when I think about the memory of the negativity around that event, it really has to do more so with how we react to the event and the weight that we put on ourselves, or the weight that we give to that negative experience that we have by letting it live over and over and over again. So this idea of really focusing on how you respond to events happen in your life. That is the secret in the equation to changing the outcome. And if you want a different outcome, you need to start changing your responses. So like for me, for example, when it comes to work, one of the things that I really struggle with is consistently serving up blog posts each week. It's a hard thing to do. Writing in front of the computer is very, very, very hard, and it's tedious, and I don't necessarily love it. I like the creative process. I like producing really good content for you and for my audience to help them become better speakers so they can pursue whatever their goals are. But the act of it is just, oh. So anytime I open up a Word document, stare at the blank screen, the outcome is not what I want, i.e. no content. So what I've had to learn to do is I have to change my response and overall just my triggers of how I approach certain things. And then I'll get a better outcome. And maybe that's a weird example. So let's say, oh, this is a good one. My husband, most lovable, kind person on the planet, really has aggressive driving behaviors. If you know what I mean. He is a little vocal and colorful on when he's driving. And sorry, dear, it's true. And so what's the thing to focus on is the event happens, the guy cuts you off. How you respond and react to the driver in front of you is on you. You either can get all heated about it and think that that person's the worst person on the planet, or you can just, so what, move on. Pretty drastic. I know, people who cut you off, you need a little bit of that emotion in it, and that's okay. But where this all comes back to is you ultimately get to create the outcome based off of your response, because you have complete and total control of that. All right, last up, lesson number 5, and this goes really nicely with the last one. And number 5 is take 100% responsibility. And what he talks about with this is really comes down to accountability and personal responsibility. I think this is so important when we're pursuing things that are really important to us, whether it's goals, whether it's success in our businesses or our professions or our health or our personal life, whatever that looks like for you. When you start taking 100% responsibility for everything that happens, you'll start looking at things differently and creating opportunities around you. And he goes as far to take it totally extreme and say, what if you acted like everything that happened in your life, you caused it? Which it's kind of crazy, because clearly there are things that are outside of your control, clearly. But when you look at it from the lens of what if you cause those things, it allows you to start thinking about, what do I really have control of that I used to think that I didn't? And that in itself is a really powerful shift. And I struggle with that a lot, because there are external forces that come into play. But how often can you come back and say, but what else could I have done? And if you have that mindset and approach to life to always be in this continual pursuit of growth, it doesn't mean that you're not happy and you're not great with where you are, but you are still hungry for more. And by leaning into that constant pursuit of growth and aspiring to something bigger, it's a pretty incredible thing when you start opening up your mind to these types of questions. So one, I just want to express extreme gratitude for my sister-in-law who kicked me in the booty to encourage me to go to this conference. But two, I hope to pass that a little forward to you, that if there was just one little nugget of information today in this 15-minute video that was helpful for you, well, it was worth getting on the video today to help you. So when it comes to that here, I'm a big believer that any type of professional growth, personal growth, this constant pursuit of becoming a better version of yourself, it not only helps you have a more fulfilling and vibrant life, it also, I believe, makes you an even more effective and inspiring communicator. And you know, that's what I'm all about. I live to help people become more intuitive and influential and effective communicators so that they can reach more people and impact their revenue and their business. So if it's something where you liked what you heard today and you'd like to see that applied in the lane of communication to become a more inspiring speaker or workshop facilitator, come stick around, say hi, check out my content, come over and follow me on Instagram, because that's where I hang out daily. And I promise you, you will get a daily dose of laughs, a little inspiration, and for sure, tangible and practical strategies that'll help you take one step closer to becoming the exceptional speaker and communicator that you want to become. So thanks for joining today. I hope this was helpful for you. A little kick in the pants never hurt anyone. That's not true, but inspiration didn't. So I hope that was helpful for you. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Bye.